What, like both ends?
Yeah, and that's the reason why I really can't go back to that restaurant anymore.
Bummer, literally.
Oof.
You like movies about gladiators?
1.21 seconds.
Get off my plane.
Cinderella boy.
I'd like to take his skates off.
Hello, and welcome. I'm Charlie McGee.
I'm George McGee.
And welcome to Retro Ramble. As you might have guessed it, we are brothers, we're not lovers.
We're brothers who grew up on a healthy diet of films, and the purpose of this podcast is to take a look back at the films we remember most fondly. Films that are worth discussing for one reason or another, good or bad.
This week, it's Air Force One and Face Off. They're both from 1997. George, how and why did we get here?
Well, time travel may not be possible, but that doesn't mean we can't go back in time via the medium of film. Yes, 1997 is a cracking year for film, whilst some may not believe it. Quite handily, 20 years ago, which will also sober up a few people listening to this. It had some great films across the year, in no particular order. Films like, Jim Carrey in his prime with Liar Liar, Starship Troopers, Fifth Element, Austin Powers, LA Confidential, Good Will Hunting. It also has a few award-worthy films. There's one of the worst films of all time, Batman and Robin, which we may even go back and look at because it's so terrible. And one of the most successful films of all time, Titanic, which we will most definitely not be reviewing. Are you ready to go back to Titanic, Charlie?
No, I think we should leave that at the bottom of the cold, cold ocean.
Goodbye, Jack! I'll never let go!
I can't believe you let me draw you naked. So yeah, I think before we go any further, obviously today we're going to be focusing on Face Off and Air Force One, Get Off My Plane. But before we go any further, a quick word from George on some housekeeping.
So, just a reminder, we are not film journalists.
Still not film journalists.
Still not journalists. We definitely don't work in the film industry. We are not getting paid for this. We are doing it for the love of film. We're new to podcasting, so there may be the occasional audio quality issue. There may be issues with editing. We might talk over each other.
Shout,
finish each other's
sentences.
And laugh at our own jokes, and we're still learning general pod etiquette.
He's a general.
So, in the words of Airplane, please.
Got me some slack, Jeff.
As always, we have a retro focus. We may go on tangents from time to time. There may be the odd bad impression. For this round, obviously, Charlie and I will be exploring our inner Cage and inner Travolta. We go to some dark camp places and some growly places with Harrison Ford. And at the end of the podcast, we'll probably do a bit of diversions and sort of just chat about what we're currently consuming in terms of our media, whether it's books, streaming, games, whatever's entertaining us at the moment.
Even films that haven't come out yet, films that are still in development. We are nerds. We know these things. We verified them. We've read them online, so we know it must be true, regardless of your feelings about post-truth. But essentially, we aim to entertain.
We may occasionally miss.
That is true. But hopefully we might inspire you to go back and take a look at these films for yourself. But hopefully it's a lot of hopefullys, isn't it?
A lot of hopefullys.
I'm very hopeful.
We can edit that out.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. The chances are you're listening to this because you've seen these films before. However, out of courtesy, we just want you to know there will be spoilers. We will be covering set pieces. We will be revealing endings, major flaws.
I mean, obviously we're giving a spoiler warning, but if you haven't seen Face Off and Air Force One, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Yeah, stop listening to this podcast right now and go and watch Face Off.
We'll wait.
So how long is that? What's the typical running time? I'm going to say it's about 2 hours 10-ish. No, it's got to be less than that.
Well, you're talking about two films, so you're
both
looking
films.
at least 3.5 to 4 hours.
Do you continue watching Air Force One after Gary Oldman's dead, though?
There's a spoiler right there.
Yeah, we've even spoilt our own spoilers, our own podcast. All right, so.
All right, Ramblers, let's get rambling.
So, as per usual, we're going to take a look at...
How about now?
That's much, much better. You look amazing. For those who are not watching our video stream, my brother is now talking into a microphone.
I might just start walking around the room and just, working the crowd.
You're so happy you bought that microphone. Well, we'll see what happens with the sound quality, but...
It is useless. £10, well spent.
So, like every week, we're going to take a look at how the films stand up today. We're going to start by looking at Air Force One. We're going to look at some memorable scenes, what works, what doesn't. I will be trying to guide the conversation. George is the specialist. George is our go-to movie buff super guy who never gets anything wrong, like pronouncing or getting the name of the director right or anything like that.
Wolfgang Peterson.
Yeah, it's better. So, starting with Air Force One.
The president's plane, Air Force One, has been hijacked.
I will execute the hostage every half an hour.
What are airborne scenarios?
There are no airborne scenarios.
How the hell did this happen? How the hell did they get Air Force One?
Let's not forget this president is a Medal of Honor winner. He knows how to fight.
My husband will not negotiate.
His wife, his daughter. I think he'll negotiate.
I mean, you've got the opening scenes in Moscow.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in terms of Air Force One, it's obviously the elevate the pitch or whatever you sort of the summary is. It's one of the last few Die Hard in a films, isn't it? In terms of person takes on terrorists in an enclosed space. You obviously Die Hard's the most famous and the best one. You've got Under Siege. You've got Under Siege 2, which is on a train. You've got Speed on a bus, Speed 2 on a cruise boat. It was also 1997. And I think this was one of the last few films of that concept that actually works. And I don't think anyone's gone back to it because it's been exhausted and two, so many people have done it so well. But I completely forgot about the opening with the storm to get the evil general, the Marines storming the Russian base.
Radek!
He's such a shit. I couldn't get over, when I was watching the film, how efficient those Marines were. It was like they were playing Call of Duty. They were literally knew where the soldiers, they would pop round a corner, they were shooting the soldiers. It was textbook. And I thought, these guys are too good.
Yeah. I couldn't get over that as well. I was thinking Call of Duty, GoldenEye on 00 Agent level, whatever you want to call it. I was just thinking, and it was all silence. There was no standoffs. They were just running down a hallway, pop, really quiet silence. And everyone was taken down immediately.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. And speaking,
really well choreographed though.
Very well done. And speaking of Call of Duty, I'll probably will touch on it later on because there's another scene in the film which I'm sure it will also bring back memories of COD for you as well. So yeah, you've got the very dramatic, very well choreographed opening. Then you launch into Moscow with a very gung-ho speech. And I don't know if you found this, but maybe it's odd timing, but the word that it sort of escapes me, but both Air Force One and Face Off have themes all about the war on terror, which, considering 1997, 4 years before the war on terror happened, I think it's quite spooky in a way. Harrison Ford's speech in Air Force One is all about we will no longer go stand silently. We will face up to all terrorists and show.
We're going to go and intervene.
Yeah, and isn't that a little bit spooky?
Well, it is. I think in terms of timing, what I took from that speech was, and what I put in my notes, is another film president pledging stuff that would never happen in real life. The way that he puts it down, it's it would never happen like that in real life. Obviously, there's everyone's going, I can't believe, are you going to make policy? How's this going to happen? I just made policy.
But we discussed this in private. But I made it public. Because I'm Harrison Ford, goddammit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that I've just got in my notes, gung-ho speech.
I've got that. I've got damn Ruskies and grumpy Harrison Ford.
Yes, but I like the way.
No, he's great in this film.
They sum up very quickly. They give you a very quick snapshot into who this guy is. In like a 5-minute section from him getting on the plane to the plane taking off. He's a family man. He's got a daughter that loves him. He loves his football. He's an everyday American guy. He's having a beer. He wants to watch the game. Everybody loves him. Oh, he's having a bit of fun time. You know, he's kissing his wife. He's a bit of a ladies' man as well. And it's just like, okay, we've got 5 minutes. How do we make this guy the best president ever? He's just a normal guy.
Yeah, they did. They summed it up. I like that. It's like they set up the third act. It's like, we will never negotiate with terrorists. The only thing that matters to me are my family, never referred to as my wife and daughter, always my family.
My family.
But the only things that matter to him are not negotiating with terrorists and his family. How are things going to end up?
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen? But before we move on, I mean, obviously that's the opening scene, so we're getting onto the plane now. You know, Russian journalistic crew, those evil journalists. These ones just happen to turn out to be the terrorists. I have to, being the techie geek, the more technically inclined, thumbprint on the screen of the laptop.
I noticed that as well. I was like, geez, technology was amazing back then.
It was just the fact that obviously...
just put your thumb on the laptop, no one will notice.
Just put your thumb in the middle of the screen and we'll add the graphics later. Yeah, that was genius. Yeah.
The other thing that stuck out to me in that sequence was saying Gary Oldman, I don't know if it had him down as like really tall. I don't know if it was either like 5'11" or maybe over 6 foot. And I always thought Gary Oldman was like 5'8" or something like that.
Well, you mean did it have his height?
It has his stats on the screen, you know, on the thumbprint thing, and it was like,
yeah, he ain't that tall.
I was like, yeah, I think it might even just been 5'11". Thought, no, that's not right. I'm sure I've seen Gary Oldman, and he's a small dude. But that's a small point. One of the things I loved about this, you've got who I like to call General Exposition, who is the general that has no function apart from telling you how many medals of honor the president has, and he flew in Vietnam, goddammit. You also have the head of press, who is other exposition, which is, do you know you could fire a machine gun in this plane and it would not make any difference at all? Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense, because you said so. It could survive a nuclear blast.
Yeah, I could get over the whole, when he gets on the plane, it's kind of like, does anybody, just if you're not sure who the president is, everyone's like, Mr. President, yes, Mr. President, Mr. President. Like, in the space of 12 seconds, I think 5 seconds, I think Mr. President is said 12 times.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But yeah,
I just love how he's having a bit of banter with the guys.
Everybody loves him.
Everybody loves him. He's a hero. He's a war hero, goddammit. The other thing I loved is clearly, and the reason I always remember this guy's name is because he's got a great name, Xander Berkeley, who you will also know as Mr. Head of Secret Service, who is evil bad guy in hiding,
but
also evil bad guy from 24.
Oh God,
evil stepfather from Terminator 2.
Yeah,
and other bit parts. He's a great bit part player, but as soon as you see him, you know
he's evil.
He's clearly evil. But yeah, I've just got Xander Berkeley, obviously evil. But getting back,
a lot of introductions,
but very tightly done. I think they sum it up.
Well
they don't drag it out. They get to the point. They sum up why the plane's bulletproof and why the plane is suitable for this action movie. Why the president's such a nice guy. What's at stake? Blah blah blah. Cut to the taking of the plane.
Yeah, which is a great scene.
Great scene. And getting back to our chat about COD, is obviously the guys who have, is it Medal of Honor, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, where they
Modern
take...
Warfare 3.
Where they take the president's plane? The Russian...
And it's actually, ironically, it's a Russian, I think, isn't it the Russian plane?
It's a Russian president's plane.
Yeah, it's a Russian president, yeah. That's mad. You've got floating about... free falls, you've got zero gravity, and you're like shooting a gun upside down. It's a brilliant set.
And isn't it all getting the president to the escape pod?
Yeah,
So-
and then you've got to go and find the escape pod as well, and that's a lot about running about with no weapons.
So
classic
yeah,
COD.
it's obviously taken. It's obviously inspired, Call of Duty, which is quite ironic because the presidential security team obviously haven't been playing COD. The guys at the start, they've been playing COD really well, but the guys on the presidential plane, they're useless. They've got, a full army on that thing and they get taken out like, absolute wins. The other guy that's also, I noticed, Gary Oldman's second in command, always plays a Russian. He's on the call list for, he plays the Russian landlord in Spider-Man 2.
Right. Well spotted.
Where is my rent? And I think if you looked up that actor on IMDb, I think he would play. He would have him down as a lot of Russian roles, a bit like the guy, our favourite man from Mission Impossible 2 and Snatch. Dmitri. You need a Russian bad guy, and you go to that guy.
He even popped up in Downton Abbey.
Did he? What, as a
That
Russian?
the Russian guy from Mission Impossible. He turns up as an old flame of no other than Maggie Smith. Yes, when I first came to the British, she helped me and my wife, the princess. Yeah, classic. It's like, they're all on a list. It's like that French guy who's the bad guy in Bad Boys.
Checky Cairo.
Is he the guy in Bad Boys?
Yeah,
Because he was in a bunch of films.
And the Goldeneye.
Yeah, we'll save that for the bad guys podcast. Foreign, generic foreign
the
bad
stereotypes.
guys podcast.
They should. I'm sure we talked about this. They should make a bit like the Expendables. They should make a film about the stereotypes, where it's just all the stereotype bad guys, like our Russian friend and Checky Cairo.
So we've got the taking of the plane. What happens next, George?
Well,
everyone's dead. The president's been fired out the escape pod.
But then
At least
it cuts back to America, and
yeah.
What have you got? Get me Glenn Close, God damn it!
Did you notice on the credits as well that she was the aunt?
Oh, I've got a great quote here. This is on the DVD summary. It has, the whole sort of, in a time of crisis, president, fighting for the security of his family. And the last line of the summary on the back of the DVD box says, with high stakes action, suspense, and featuring Glenn Close as the vice president.
How is that a plot point? Who was this?
You've got high stakes. You've got action. You've got suspense. You've got Glenn Close.
Okay, I'm in.
But I read a fact on, I'm probably jumping ahead here, but on IMDb trivia, apparently Glenn Close was cast quite last minute, and she'd had a very short haircut at the time. So she supplied her own wig for the role. So it makes me think that Glenn Close has an array of wigs that she has for roles that have become available at short notice.
Glenn, are you gonna need a wig? No, I got that. I'll go to my wig trailer.
But you've got Dean Stockwell, also known as the bloke from Quantum Leap.
He will always be the bloke from Quantum Leap. Wasn't he in The West Wing?
I haven't seen The West Wing. Everyone tells
Neither
me.
have I.
Everyone tells me it will change my life or something.
Yeah, I got told that as well, but I think I got the impression, because I think The West Wing was kind of starting around the same sort of time. Like, has he just wandered in? Because he does play an advisor. Actually, I might even be way off. He might even be, is he the president, or is that Martin Sheen?
That's Martin Sheen.
Yeah, but I think he's chief of staff or advisor in The West Wing. And I was like, wait a minute. but I did like the fact that you had, there's Glenn, she's just going for a peaceful political solution, and there's Dean Stockwell, like, I want to blow shit up.
Fire the nukes. I loved it. Yeah, we've got to get a guy in to talk us through the Fifth Amendment or whatever the amendment is. Get me a guy.
You mean the Attorney General? Yeah, of course, because the Constitution is.
That's it. The Constitution
needs to be protected.
But looking jokes aside, you've got a very strong supporting cast.
All of it. That's when movies were made that way. You had these sort of go-to actors.
I totally forgot William H. Macy was in it.
Oh, very young William H. Macy as well.
Yeah, probably sort of early on in his career. I suppose it would have been around the same time as Fargo and stuff, yeah. But yeah, Glenn Close, it's a solid performance, and I suppose that's why she gets the hand. It's a solid performance.
But the entire film, she's talking into the conference call, and the entire film she looks like she's staring at the camera, staring into the abyss. She's just like, but what will you do if you can't find the president?
She's absolutely exhausted, bless her. But and the moment I've already touched on, obviously when you're in Washington, it cuts to General Exposition, Medal of Honor, Vietnam, and I watched I went through the exhaustive list of special features on the DVD, all 7 minutes, and you've got the trailer and you've got a featurette. And that line of dialogue from General Exposition is featured in both things. So it's really sort of, again, it's a key plot would say, why is this guy kicking ass?
Well, how could a president? Can you imagine Donald Trump? Donald Trump's hiding downstairs, taking out terrorist cells one by one.
Charlie, I think we all know that would happen. Wrong! I think Donald Trump would take them out. I imagine he has a more of a Seagal style fight.
He'd grab him by the pussy.
Well, that indeed. So
yes, you've got Glenn trying. She tries the political peaceful solution. She talks to the president. She's like, "Could you release Radek?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I got into power on this, so I'm not going to do it until the end of the film. Just for the climax, if that's okay. I'm not going to do it right now." So she has to turn back to Dean Stockwell, and Dean Stockwell, all he wants is Strike Force Alpha.
Dean Stockwell he wants utter carnage. But all this is going on. You've obviously got all the hostages in the conference room. Meanwhile, you've got, I counted this up, you've got 5 minutes of Harrison Ford going through luggage.
That's my first note, is like, don't you just love the fact that he finds the phone, but before using the Nokia phone of 1997, he brings out the user manual and reads how it works. I think that was just genius. It's like, he's not going to know how this phone works. How is he going to work it out?
Oh, no, I thought that was a nice touch as well. It's the way it kept, like, it was cutting between the terrorists, it was cutting between Washington. Meanwhile, Harrison's still going through the luggage. It's just like, we're really building the tension here. He hasn't found the phone yet. And then when after all of that, it's like, he's looking at the instruction manual. Why are they including this? But to be fair, it does, it's quite a humorous moment. And as you say, it gives it a sort of, well, why would he know how to use the phone? He would have some underling to do it for him.
It was like dad with the video instructions. He was like, let me just look at this. Okay, what am I doing?
In terms of our total discussion of every podcast, product placement, I've got everything in the kitchen. You've got at least 2 fight scenes in the kitchen where they're throwing each other, a bit like Superman 2, they're throwing each other into various products. And there's the very cheesy moment, I may be jumping ahead, where he's got the satellite phone, he's got the call through, and he's got to cut the line to the fuel pump. And there's all these different coloured wires, and then he goes...
Red, white, and blue.
He cuts up, counting on you, red, white, and blue.
Bit of hand on the heart.
No, I was a little bit sick in my mouth, but...
Wait till you get to Act 3.
Yes, that's true.
I just want to make a point. The reason why I was saying about the instruction manual is that this just reminded me of, like, in Jason Bourne, the good films, not the new one. The second one, the Supremacy. Oh no, it's the last one, I think, Ultimatum, where he's in, is it Victoria Waterloo Station, and he just gets the burner phone, he buys it, turns it on, puts it in the guy's pocket. Now, if you've ever bought burner phone, that's not how it works. So I actually really appreciated him finding the phone, getting out the instruction manual, powering it on, because I was thinking the same as you. Why are they showing us this? But
well, no, I'd say it's a nice touch. After all that sort of tension, it's like, and he doesn't even know how to use it. But speaking of modern technology of 1997, one of my I may be jumping ahead, but one of my favourite moments of I've just got on my notes, the joy of sending a fax.
Faxes still relevant.
So they've cut the phone lines, but the faxes are still available.
Well, somebody might overlook the fax because if they're not seen as, I mean, obviously they're the future, but maybe terrorists haven't thought about that.
It's just, the triumphant music of the fax being sent. I was like, yes, faxes are still relevant.
So we now step into this brilliant collage effect of where Harrison Ford is, he has to take on the terrorists. And I have to admit, it's been a while since I'd seen this film. I'd completely forgotten how much of a Die Hard film this was. I know it is obviously, but I forgot there was this whole creeping out, taking them one by one, and the other thing where it doesn't happen till the end, but where he's actually over the radio between Gary Oldman and him. I don't want to jump ahead, but I forgot how much of a Die Hard film this is, stupidly.
Well, it's for a while. It takes everyone a while to work out that it's the actual president that's doing it. They think it's some rogue Secret Service agent, which I think is
I didn't take note, but I think it's at least an hour in. It's well into the film before anyone. I mean, Gary Oldman doesn't work out to the end, so. Yeah,
because it's like even no, Washington worked it out because obviously he's got the phone in his pocket. Do you know who I am? I'm Harrison Ford, for Christ's sake. Yeah, but it's quite cheesy. But to be fair, Harrison Ford still sells it. If in terms
He's
of
great.
If you look at all the other sort of Die Hard knockoffs, obviously, one of the reasons why Die Hard works out so well is because you've got Bruce Willis. You've got that emotional edge that he's actually a decent actor, or was a decent actor. And he's selling that, there's that believability. It's not like Arnie or Stallone saying, "Oh my God, my wife hates me, and I'm such a loser. I hate my job." And it's the same with this. That you can believe that Harrison Ford's the president. You can believe that he has a Vietnam background.
And timing works out. Korea, I think.
Yeah, and it also, in terms of the emotional punch, He's such a good actor, he, in those scenes where he's begging for his family's life, he really does sell it.
Yeah.
And there's a bit, I think, where, and, as you were saying, what's the one thing that's going to make him break on his promise of not dealing with terrorists is where he's like, he goes, "Okay, I'll do it, just leave my family alone." And it, he completely sells it. In terms of what have you got next on your notes? I've got, the guys escaping in parachutes. Which reading in trivia, apparently there's no such function. There's one in the real Air Force One, there's no escape pod. And two, there's no, opening.
There's no living daylights.
No, sadly no. And apparently Bill Clinton watched it twice, in 1997 and said, one of his comments were, "Maybe we should have an escape pod on Air Force One."
just in case Hillary wants to take over my presidency again.
I can escape in safety. But no, again, that's a good scene. It builds, apart from a little bit of ropey CGI, and again, it's sort of this film flip flops between some really good practical effects, like the whole bit where they try and land the plane at that German Air Force base, and the plane's going around and taking out stuff. On the whole, it's pretty effective. But a lot of the CGI plane stuff, I've got, especially towards the end, I've got sub PS2 style graphics for the plane.
Yeah.
For the plane craft. It's a little bit ropey. In terms of
before we go to that though, just 2 points. Sorry, I did pick up. One was the first takeout of the terrorist that he takes out. Sorry, we're going all over the place.
Yeah,
but it's quite a messy fight. And it ends with a classic sleeper chokehold, which I liked. It was very sort of like, it's not like Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis in Die Hard is like he's a cop and he gets.
But again, that's a sloppy fight. The one down the stairwell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's you can see them walking the same sort of tropes. But you mentioned it before, and one thing that hit me about this film, the reason why I use the term action thriller, this film is tense. There's. You know what's going to happen at the end, but I mean that says a lot about Wolfgang Petersburg. That in terms of that, you know what's going to happen, but you're still tense throughout the film. And I go on to there's that quite chilling scene with the hostages. They're done really well. I mean, it's Gary Oldman. You don't even want Gary Oldman doing that to you in real life when you know it's an actor. I mean,
his wife, his daughter, he will negotiate.
So quite chilling hostage scenes, quite tense.
No, that's it. There's a lot of collateral damage on the plane, and again, that sort of plays into the sort of, again, touches on Die Hard. Oh, he's not going to let the person die, but he does for the greater good.
The greater good.
The greater good. Even though you know the guy who is it Secretary of Defense or Secretary of State who doesn't agree with his policy in public, is the first.
You mean the guy from the Crunchy Nut Cornflakes advert? That guy is the National Security Advisor.
Yeah.
He appeared in a Crunchy Nut Cornflakes advert about at the same sort of time.
Knowledge.
And it was about the guy, you can set his watch to him. 2 minutes, he's in the shower. Anyway, bit of trivia.
Okay. Yeah, as I say, the thing that I think we agreed on this, that sticks out from other sort of, I say, diehard clones is the performances. You've got, great actors, and it has got some good tension. And then I think it's safe to say we're moving into the final third of the film where it gets a little bit silly.
My notes just say explosions, exclamation mark.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, George, I've seen my notes here. This film makes sending a fax exciting.
Exactly, the joy of sending a fax.
So the refueling plane.
Yep.
What's going to happen?
What's the worst that could happen? Massive explosion. The thing that I couldn't work out is when they get Radek released, you've got the prison guards are like cheering and they're doing a running commentary. I couldn't work out why are they happy that he's leaving.
So what I picked up on a few things this time, which I obviously just malayed over the first time. So the backstory is that James Marshall, helped the current Russian president get in, even though he was fighting off both sides of his parties, the right and the left, or the socialists, whoever his opposing parties. Based on, so there's still, short story, there's still loads of people loyal to Radek, who want Radek, this dictator type guy, to be in charge. And when he's being released, like, half the prison guards are doing what they're told.
Yeah.
But there's this one guy who's obviously relaying all the information, who's actually one of the prison guards, who's relaying all the information to the terrorists.
Well, that's what I can work out, because you've got 1 minute, you've got everyone's cheering.
Release the prisoner, kill the prisoner, kill the prisoner.
And then they're all shooting him. I was like, I know that, it's the whole political situation, but I thought that was a little bit confusing. But while this is all going on, you've got Gary Oldman and Harrison Ford fighting, doing the Living Daylights thing, fighting on the ramp. And the point that I probably thought you would have found amusing is when when the wife picks up the gun, shoot him, and she's struggling to get a shot and she can't shoot him. I just kept thinking of Loaded Weapon 1. But then you cut to the classic line that you and I will always say, "Get off my plane."
It's brilliant. But unfortunately, it's where you kind of have to tap out of that film as well.
Well, yeah, I think they probably do actually kill off Gary Oldman a bit too soon, wouldn't you say?
They should have done the thing, he's not dead. I think that's the only reason why you keep watching the films, like, he's still alive.
He's crawling up the side of the plane.
Yeah, because it's Gary Oldman. But the fact that third act, it's so long. That's all I've got here is I've got, like, Showdown. Sorry, he does negotiate after all. Showdown, America, fuck yeah. And isn't there a bit when he's flying the plane?
Yes.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah. So basically they kill Gary Oldman, they take control of the plane, and then they send in the Russian MiGs loyal to Radek come in and start attacking the plane.
Yeah.
So Harrison Ford and William H. Macy are trying to negotiate this giant plane with its security measures before the American support turns up. And again, you've got like some really cliche dialogue. I've written some lines down here. You've got, "Get him off my tail." And another one that made me giggle purely because it just made me think of airplane. You've got "Rudder is sluggish."
I got that as well.
And you've got
I love the fact that it was kind of like Han Solo
back in the cockpit, yeah, with William H. Macy as Chewie. And then they take out the MiGs. Yeah, again, it's it's a good sort of tension scene. And then it goes to the whole zipline thing, and I've got in my notes.
Oh, it's so long.
Is the zipline thing real? Does it only happen in films like this and Cliffhanger? It seems a bit ridiculous.
So a guy jumps out of a plane with a zip line. He then just manages to. It happened in a 1974 airport film. You know, the real film.
Yeah, Airport 1974.
I think I saw that where there's actually a bit where the guy actually tries to do that and he dies. So right. I'm assuming that it is, to quote the film, what are the airborne scenarios? There are no airborne scenarios.
Right. Thanks, General Exposition.
Apparently there are airborne scenarios.
Right, okay. So yeah, I've got PlayStation 2 quality graphics for the plane crash, which is so ridiculous. It's like, why not just have it slowly sink into the sea? It's like the plane's doing cartwheels, and it's just awful. Then you've got, he's on the military plane, and they're all saluting him. We got him. Which, the interesting thing I found out in the trivia, that Air Force One only correlates to whatever plane he's on.
I kind of worked that out from the film. I don't know about you, George.
No, but apparently it goes further. Okay, yeah, I worked out from the film, but apparently it correlates to, so if he was in a Navy helicopter, it would be Navy One. If he was in an Army transport, it would be Army One.
Right.
So it correlates to whatever vehicle he's in. So apparently, and the Vice President, Glenn Close, and her wig, are, if she's travelling in a helicopter, it would be Air Force 2.
Right. So what does the helicopter become? Isn't it Marine One? Or no,
sorry. It's Marine. So it'll be Marine 2 if Glenn Close and her wig were in the
and
helicopter.
Lots of salutes.
Lots of saluting.
I loved all the salutes. It's like a high five, military high five.
And then I've got final point, flying off into the sunset to kick more ass.
It's like, where's he going next?
Well, he's in a military aircraft. I think he'll go and bomb, so he'll go straight back to Russia and bomb some more insurgents. So overall, I've got solid and entertaining action film, well acted, fairly well paced, apart from the luggage scenes, good action quota, like a hamburger, cheesy, meaty, and a guilty pleasure, and all American. Oh, I forgot to talk about the amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
I've just got in my notes as I sent to you. What a soundtrack! USA.
Trumpets.
And apparently, again in trivia, Jerry Goldsmith, who's a classic movie score guy, composer. He was brought in very last minute, and
Jerry, what do you got?
and he said it was one of the worst scores he'd ever done, but I disagree, Jerry. I think he's hit all the right notes. Ba 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 ba. So much so,
I bought the soundtrack. I've gone out and just bought it.
No. It comes back to what I was talking about at the start and what we touched on. I sent you this. I don't know if you remember, but Donald Trump was using the Air Force One theme as his walk-on music to all of his rallies.
Got in trouble. Was it Jerry? Did Jerry get in touch?
It was Jerry Goldsmith's estate got in touch, because Jerry Goldsmith died a few years ago, and they said, we really are against you using this for your political gain. Jerry wouldn't have wanted this. Can you please stop using the Air Force One theme as your walk-on music?
I do remember it.
So he was actually told to stop using the Air Force One music by Jerry Goldsmith's estate. So yeah. So in terms of cutting to one of our, hopefully our reoccurring features, so casting coulda, shoulda, a little bit Ron Burgundy. So apparently, I don't know if you've read this in the wonderful vault of IMDb trivia.
I haven't.
Apparently, the role was originally written for Kevin Costner.
Interesting. Could have done a good job.
I think equally solid choice.
Just as bankable.
But apparently he was too busy doing The Postman.
Yeah, he was probably worried about being... I don't know. I haven't seen The Postman, so I can't comment.
Neither have I. I've just heard it's awful. It makes Waterworld look good.
So, without further ado, I guess it's time to talk about Face Off.
He's the most dangerous and brilliant criminal mind I've ever known. For years, I've been watching him, tracking him, studying his every move. I know his every mannerism, facial tic, gesture. I know him better than he knows himself. And now, after all this time, I finally figured out a way to trap him. I will become him.
Let's talk about Face Off. Where to start? I mean, in terms of background, I remember this used to be a very popular film of yours and mine. For a while, it did hold that title of, again, going back to Die Hard, best action film since Die Hard. I don't know if you agree. I mean, it had a lot of hype around the time.
Well, it had a good teaser trailer.
That's a great point. I actually went.
We saw that at the cinema, didn't we?
Yeah, and I remember going back and watched it recently, and it's again that's something that they don't do enough of these days. I think the 90s was a great time of
Jurassic Park did it.
Terminator 2 did it in the whole Terminator factory, and now we're in an era where they just do a teaser trailer for a trailer instead of actually filming a special bit of footage for the trailer. But yeah, I remember it was huge when Face Off first came out. Empire gave it 5 stars, which I'm sure if they went back and reviewed it, it wouldn't get 5 stars. Cage was at the top of his box office clout and his power. Travolta, whilst his star was briefly on the rise, following Pulp Fiction, and obviously his hammy first go around with John Woo for Broken Arrow.
I forgot about that, because I was thinking John Woo, Travolta, they worked together.
Yeah, so in terms of background, so John Woo's career was built doing amazing action films in Hong Kong. So he had films like Hard Boiled and The Killer and A Better Tomorrow. His first few Hollywood films didn't go down very well. Everyone was talking about how good his action style was and how they were looking forward to his American films. And the first one he did was Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme and his mullet.
Awesome.
Punching a snake in the face. Doing a roundhouse to kick a grenade at a bad guy. Maybe that's a film we should focus on. Let's go back to 1994 for a later podcast, maybe. And then he did obviously Broken Arrow, which I famously duped Mum and Dad into taking me to see at the cinema. And our dad gave us a running commentary of how many helicopters are going to explode in this film, George? Yeah, it's sort of like the bomb's going to Denver. And he turns to me really loud. We've been to Denver, haven't we, George? Yes, Dad. Yes, we have. Anyway, getting so with Face Off, it seemed like the promise that John Woo had showed in his Hong Kong films, he actually delivered. And I think it's safe to say we've seen this numerous times. It's some amazing action in the film, but it is at times utterly ridiculous. It is at times completely overacted, but I think, if anything, it makes it an even better film.
It does, and it's not a long film. Even whatever the time is, it doesn't feel long. It's
it zips by.
Yeah, one thing to the next. Let's start with, if we're going to take it scene by scene, I guess we're going to start with the airport scene.
The first bit we're missing is, and it's quite a key plot point, you've got Nicolas Cage setting the bomb.
Oh, smoking and rock music and feeling up choir girls is bad, okay?
Yeah. One question, why is the bomb set for such a long time? Why is it... It's set for like a week and a half.
Yeah, it's like a week... They've got ages. And also,
I think
why isn't it remote?
I think the screenwriter even came out and said, we set it for so long to keep the story going effectively. But the other question is, can Cage get any hammier? Whilst he's playing the bad guy. I mean, he's, as you say, he's touching the choir girl, he's doing the rocking thing. I think I've got here, is he just giving it his all in the limited time he has as the bad guy? Is he just thinking, right, fuck it, I've only got 10 minutes before I get knocked out, do I just go for it?
I couldn't work out, I was tempted to send you my notes on this film, mainly because of my comments about Travolta. I had to change a certain word to camp, because my issue is actually in this film is with Travolta. I think that Cage owns this film. He's loving it. He's having a great time, and he does a great job. But we're skipping ahead. Yeah. So
first off, you've got the very slow sort of setup with his son getting killed. Michael. Then you've got the bombing set. Then you've got the awesome, Humvees on the runway. Humvee versus plane. What's going to happen?
Woo!
It's awesome. Let's throw everything at it. Much so.
Plane crashes into a paint factory.
I've even got, it's like that scene from Wayne's World. It's like the guys have freshly painted the airport hangar before the plane crashes into it. It's just like, you see them running out the way like, no, we've just finished it. And then
doors closed.
Sparks going everywhere. Jumping out of a jet plane with 2 guns in your hand. It's
firing away.
It's John Wick. But yeah, I've got, it's one of my notes like later on, but there's a lot of unnecessary flipping around whilst firing guns. Like,
yeah, that's John Woo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's Hard Boiled does it the best, where you've got Chow Yun-fat sliding down the banister firing 2 pistols, and he never runs out of bullets.
Never runs out of bullets in the entire film.
But one of the other bits I liked is when they first come face to face, pun intended. And like John Travolta's like, I don't care if I live or die, and Cage is like, you're not having any fun, are you? And they're having this like back and forth dialogue next to a jet engine that's going off, the one that he kicks him into, and I'm thinking, you couldn't have a conversation next to a jet engine.
No, what? You don't want to live another day? What? I can't hear you.
He said something about a bomb before I roundhoused him into the jet engine. Take that, Cage. But, so, yeah, I thought that bit's good, and they've got his brother in custody, and they found the disc, the chunky floppy disc, that has very intricate 3D drawings of the bomb. And I'm thinking, would you go to that level of detail?
I was thinking the very same, and even the software, they had to go and hire a graphic artist, and this was in the days before crowdsourcing, so it was like, we need somebody who can do good graphics on a Mac, who can design like a hot girl in a bikini who's kind of skeleton. Ooh, baby, you disarm me, we've got to have an audio file. I mean, who's the creative team who came up with this?
He's very passionate about his work, is Castor Troy. That's something that it goes into sort of like, well, he's a dedicated agent of terror. But I thought that was hilarious, where it's like, okay, what's the evidence? Well, we've got this very conclusive 3D drawing of the bomb. Then you go into the crazy science of swapping faces.
George, you're skipping a certain waterfall.
Ooh. Well, yes.
Because there's the introduction of Sean Archer's family.
So we
with his wife, Pamela Landy. Sorry, I mean Joan Allen.
That Joan Allen.
Even I totally forgot. Even she's a giver of face waterfalls as well. So
it's the Archer family trait. So
yeah,
just to put this in comparison, so we've borrowed the term face waterfalls from one of our favourite podcasts that have covered this film, How Did This Get Made? And it's a family tick that I think mainly Travolta does, and obviously then Nicolas Cage has to do, where they're stroking each other's faces.
It's kind of like a shut up. It's kind of like, don't worry, shut up.
It's a little bit creepy, but it's a token moment of affection. So that's the Archer thing. They touch each other's faces.
Anyway, onto the prison. Really cheaply made, obviously.
I love the prison. I forgot how over the top the prison bit is. You've got I love the prison guard monologue. The Geneva Convention does not know we exist. Amnesty International is unaware of our activities. So basically you're telling us it's a nasty place. And the extensive, you've got the big the video wall thing. I love that. It's all, I love the prison. It's very over the top. And the magnetic boots. Who can forget the magnetic boots? I've got my notes here so you've got Travolta as Cage, or Sean Archer as Castor Troy in prison, but then Castor Troy wakes up. You've got some very fine over the top screaming from Nicolas Cage when he wakes up out of his coma.
Brilliant.
And there's part of me that thinks it would be a better film if it was Nicolas Cage versus Nicolas Cage without a face. That would be a lot more fun than Nicolas Cage.
That'd be quite dark.
It would be quite dark, but imagine you're getting twice the Cage for your money.
And zero
Travolta. I think that might be a better thing. But I think there is a lot. You can tell that Travolta's having a lot more fun as the bad guy, because when he's playing Sean Archer, he is just a bit dull. I mean, okay, fair enough.
We should talk about the reveal in the prison. So Castor Troy's woken up. He's killed all the people who know about it. He's taken his face off.
Even Tito.
I know, that's what I love. So that's what I was going to refer to. In this reveal, it's a great reveal. I mean, and it is a reveal like a curtain coming up. The way the door opens, and Travolta's there waiting for him.
He's got the newspaper.
Yeah, and I was waiting. Is there a dove? Is there a John Woo dove? Not in this.
No, only in the church scene.
Yeah, there's this, and I just love the way how they imitate each other. So, and this is how I've got written in my notes a lot. Most of my sentences now start with Travolta is so camp when. So he's so camp during this entire scene. It's like, I know what I'm going to do. Call it hammy. But he just goes really, really camp. And Cage's interpretation of Sean Archer is just to be pathetic. He's just like, you killed them, Tito.
A little bit offensive, but slightly retarded as well.
Yeah, he's like, what's your interpretation of Sean Archer going to be? I'm just going to be pathetic.
And a little bit slow. But that was it. And speaking of slow, obviously slow-mo is a John Woo trait, but for some reason they decided to do slow-mo as Nicolas Cage goes, Tito.
Yeah, Tito. I love that. I could watch that over and over again.
And so then that quickly cuts to the prison break scene, which one of the things I loved and forgot about is they run into the control room, they mash a lot of I think there's a system overload button.
Yeah, press this button.
Which just effectively makes the TV screen fire out lots of sparks.
Yeah, there's a lot of slow motion sparks.
I'm not sure why that happens.
System overload, George.
System overload. The TV explodes because it would with a system overload. But then that cuts to when Nicolas Cage does, Nicolas Cage's stuntman jumps off the oil rig.
You spotted it. Did you notice I've got it written here? He has so much more hair than Nicolas Cage.
Oh, so much more hair. There is some amazing use of stuntmen in this film. We will get to that in the final scenes. But it cuts to him diving into the water.
He's the only one who escapes.
He's the only one who escapes, and he manages to swim underwater the whole time because you've got a helicopter circling.
Yeah.
Swims under, a mile and a half underwater. But it cuts back to, I've got, in inverted comma, where's his body? Good work from Travolta, where they're saying, oh, but we haven't found Castor Troy's body. They haven't recovered it yet? And it's just so camp.
It's over the top. It's so over the top.
So yeah, I've just got great work from Travolta. So after that, we are sort of flying through this, but you cut to Castor Troy / Archer goes to meet with his terrorist chums who, in true Hollywood fashion, live in a massive, amazing warehouse type loft apartment type thing. They do nondescript drugs. He's got his case full of guns and drugs.
Because he's a bad guy.
He's got for some reason his mate's holding on to his guns. And you have that fine moment where Nicolas Cage is tripping his face off and he's doing the, I'm not me, I'm me.
Very, very leaving Las Vegas.
Which quickly cuts to, we've got some more face waterfalls where he starts creeping out Gina Gershon's son, stroking his face and screaming Michael at him. I felt a little bit awkward at that scene. Never mind
every time
the people in the scene. But cutting to another great action sequence with, I found counter-terrorism unit very gun happy.
Yeah, they don't ask a lot of questions.
They don't ask any questions. They just go in firing. And there's a lot of, they're shooting up their girlfriends, they're shooting up everything.
Oh, they kill everybody. There's kids there, they don't, just kill everyone.
And in true, I've got here, in true 80s, 90s fashion, there's a lot of glass shattering.
There is, but this brings me to a point I've got in my list of good things I liked about this film. It was great to see special effects rather than CGI. This film, there's exploding, there's sparks, there's glass, there's smoke, there's fire, but it's real. It's in front of you, and you can feel it, you can see it when they can do it in slow-mo. And it's something that made me think, they used to slow things down to make it look more real, and to obviously get away with certain effects. Now that they're not using those effects, we'll just do it in CGI.
Well, that's it. I've got the exact same points. I've just got great practical effects, terrible stuntmen. But yeah, that's it. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That's the difference between today's action films. Well, one, you've got the editing. The editing is a lot faster. You've got, for some films like Bourne, the Bourne trilogy or Bourne series, it works where you've got the quickly edited. Some other films, it just doesn't work and it becomes a bit of a mess.
Choppy mess, yeah.
And as you said, yeah, you've got CGI explosions, CGI special effects, and it just looks really ropey. But yeah, I think that's it. One of the things that the strengths in this film is the choreography. I mean, that whole sequence that's set to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, slow-mo, and apparently...
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And apparently John Woo fought for that scene. He thought it was pivotal to the film, and the studio were like, oh, well, seems a little bit unnecessary, but...
Bit arty.
But yeah, that's it. It shows that he sees that action is a bit like a ballet. It should be choreographed. It should be over-stylized, because that's what makes it enjoyable. And am I missing anything? Does that cut... Do we go from that one action scene to the church scene?
Oh, then it just... That's what I mean. This is a fast film. It's not a three-part... It's not a three-act film. Like, I was trying to work this out. I think it's like 2 acts. There's the setup, and then...
Well, there's a little bit on the prison, and then you've got action.
I suppose there's 2 very quick acts, and then there's a very long third act where it's because it like goes from Dietrich's apartment to... There's a little bit of bedding, and then there's the church scene, and then it all kicks off and goes nuts.
Yeah, so obviously in the church scene you've got some classic John Woo trademarks. You've got the dubs.
Yeah. Church.
And church, and you've got Mexican standoff.
The classic guns over guns. Oh, your gun arm's in the way of my gun arm.
Yeah.
Why don't you just go under
let's
and I'll
quickly
go over?
swap over.
Yeah, no, but you go under and I go, no, you're supposed to go under.
You've got that ridiculous gun battle in the church where everyone seems to die apart from Travolta and Cage.
Handy.
Very handy. You've got the bit with the daughter getting in the way, and the daughter being thrown down the stairs, which I thought was quite amusing.
For no reason.
But I don't know if you, I rented this through Google Play, and I remember watching this on video, and they edited the scene where he opens the butterfly knife. But in this one they didn't, and I remember it being like BBFC, like a broadcast censorship thing. But completely beside the point. Then you get to the point where they both sound like Travolta? They both sound like Travolta, but then they carry on fighting and it still sounds like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. No, because he messes with his throat.
Yes. So he should sound like Travolta, but then they carry on fighting and it's lots of... Ugh!
No, but he only sounds like Travolta when he
holds
does
his
something
throat.
with his throat. I think that's the thing here. But sorry, go on. I mean, I kind of just... This is when it becomes... You just sit back and watch what happens. It's like, what are they going to do next? Well, have we ever had 2 guys fighting on a speedboat? No, okay.
Well, it goes back to the practical effects thing. Like, there's so much in it. Like, I love the whole completely over the top point where the police boat just comes out of nowhere. The police boat that has loads of armed police,
and he kills them all.
He kills them all. The boat manages to idle around just so he could launch off it, and the boat explodes as he drives through it.
Great.
It's completely unnecessary, but it's a great stunt. Speaking of stunts, stuntmen with lots of hair, more hair than even Travolta's wig.
They've both got really clear, like, receding hairlines, and the stuntmen are all in their 20s.
Oh, some great stuntman work, and yeah, this bit where he's just water skiing along. It's just like, just kill him. No, he looks too awesome barefoot water skiing along, and then you've got. After all that practical effects, you've got a bit of a terrible stunt at the end when the boat flips up and they're like about 30 meters in the air. But they still haven't managed to sort out the stuntmen. It still looks like completely 2 random guys in the air. But yeah, again, sort of jumping back and in a similar note to Air Force One, I think the thing that lifts us up is that there are some genuine scenes where probably more Nicolas Cage sells it in terms of, Nicolas Cage was/is a good actor. And there's that whole...
He's acting his shit off in this film. He's brilliant throughout, whereas, I mean, I put it down as one of the cons. I just feel Travolta just turns up the ham to 11.
Yeah, I'd say Travolta's really hammy, or he's just really dour. Whereas I love one of the scenes I thought Nicolas Cage really sells it is where he confronts that hot, sexy Joan Allen, and he talks about their first dates where she breaks a tooth on a bread roll, and it's just a really quiet sort of scene, but he sells it really well because obviously he is a very good dramatic actor, and apparently that's one of the reasons why John Woo picked those two actors, because he wanted to make it more of a character piece around the action rather than just action for the sake of it. Yeah. Which I think is a nice segue into casting coulda, shoulda.
Excellent.
So, there's two pairings I've got here. Actually, no, there's three. Can you guess at least one of them? So, in terms of, if you're going to do Face Off in the 90s...
Okay, well, maybe
action stars.
No, you told me. Okay, this is funny because we always do coulda, woulda. Coulda, shoulda.
Coulda, shoulda.
And I've actually come up with some suggestions of my own, not knowing.
Okay.
I'll run through them, and if because I took into account the year of the film, who was hot. So I've got the first serious one was Russell Crowe versus Kevin Spacey. How good would that have been?
That could work, but I'm not sure Kevin Spacey be able to pull off the action side of things.
Maybe not. And also two who are probably too old, but they had done a film at the same time, Pacino and De Niro. I was going to say maybe Jean-Claude Van Damme versus Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Amazing. Well, no, apparently one of the serious ones, there was JCVD versus Seagal.
I thought it would be something like that. I mean, when you said which one, I would have said Seagal, or I would have said Wesley Snipes and Stallone.
Well, that would have been a little bit controversial, Charlie. We would have had to change the whole man's skin as well as just his face.
We can take everything out. No, I've got some other ones for you to consider.
Okay.
Tom Cruise and Dougray Scott. Oh, no. Sorry, that's the wrong face switching movie. Finally, because it was the 90s, George, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Amazing. Love it.
We're going to have to make one of you much shorter.
Amazing. I'm going to have to cut your legs off. So, as you can predict, real casting, apparently Stallone and Schwarzenegger were considered. Yeah. Apparently, the original script, it was going to be set in the future to make the face swapping a bit more believable.
That would make sense.
But apparently, John Woo cut it back to make it more character relatable, and budget, apparently. But the more interesting pairing, and I don't know if you noticed, but this film is produced by none other than Michael Douglas.
Really?
And originally he was producing it, and it was going to be him versus none other than President James Marshall, Harrison Ford. Now that would have been quite an interesting combination.
Well, I was surprised. We were just talking about Air Force One. I was surprised how young Harrison Ford was in the 90s. If you compare him to, say, what he's looking like now for Star Wars. He was still... Why didn't he make more films?
True.
That's a shame.
True. But, I think that would have been quite an interesting setup. Obviously, it would have been made for a much different film. But hey ho, some good trivia there. So overall, what would you say your overall thoughts on Face Off are?
When I watched it the first time in the 90s, I loved it. There was a lot to love about it. Movies, I think what we've talked about today, movies have come a long way. Editing has changed, special effects have changed. The type of actors who get these roles have changed. The pro about this is they don't make them like they used to. You don't get a film like this, of this action type, being made by a director like this, with a cast like this, for that amount of money. Now you get Chai Courtney, and it goes straight. It's unforgettable.
Well, you seem to get either or. You seem to, obviously, since it's funny you mentioned about Harrison Ford getting old, but obviously in the past 15 years or so, we've had what they call them, the Jerry Actioner. You've had the Taken films, where because of special effects, you can make it more believable that someone older, like Liam Neeson is taking names, kicking ass, because you can blend in his stuntman a lot more believably than you could in Face Off. But I think, yeah, I agree in terms of, it seems like the 90s was very much of the high concept action film. So it's Die Hard on a ... It's, how about these two guys have to swap faces? You know, there was a brilliant script going around that still hasn't been made which is very similar to Face Off, called The Gemini Man, and that was originally going to be Mel Gibson as an assassin that has to go on the run because he's on the run from a clone of himself in his 20s, and it was going to be using like footage from Mad Max and Mel Gibson's earlier work with Mel Gibson in the late 90s, and it's a great concept, and they've kind of done it in a bit with Looper, even though it's a different actor. But if you look at the technology of
where it's going,
with Captain America: Civil War, the stuff that Marvel are doing, showing how good the de-aging software is getting. So you never know; it might go back to that sort of high concept action film of, well, we can do anything with CGI effects in terms of our actors. You could put younger people through the paces or older people through the paces.
It's kind of. This was at the same sort of... I just feel that we're in a different world now. I don't know if this is coming off the back of piracy and then how the movie business has reacted to piracy, and how it's, it's paid video on demand content sort of thing. But you look at that year. I mean, we've picked this year. We're going to focus on this year again. In other podcasts, we're going to do a comedy focus. We're going to do another focus because there's just so many films that came out this year. And I think there was this period between 1995 and 2004, take that period. There were just so many amazing films. And then after that, piracy really kicked in. And I think there was the writer's strike and there was a drop off. And I think now there's like movies are either massive events or it's gone long format on Netflix,
But you've also got, we're now in the age, well, it's always been about the sequel, but it's more about franchise these days. It has to be you're getting less original films, and they're either remakes, sequels, or reboots. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a remake of Face Off in the next 5 years.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see who. So that's a question.
I can't see a remake of Air Force One anytime soon due to the political implications. I can definitely, probably quite depressingly see, it seems that no action film is safe. Obviously, if you look at the current run of films like Point Break and what have you.
I still haven't watched that.
I haven't heard a single good thing about it. So, I am preferring to leave it well alone. I've had my fingers burnt by sitting through the Total Recall and RoboCop remakes. I think that's enough.
Yeah, I turned off Total Recall. I kind of gave RoboCop a bit more. I think
RoboCop's all right.
For different reasons. It was a different type of film.
Yeah, but Total Recall's it's just dull.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was, two films, two for the price of one, both Air Force One and Face Off. Let's start with Air Force One. I mean, Harrison Ford, great film.
Yeah, as I said at the start, I think it's a solid, entertaining film, and it's a ridiculous setup, but I think it's held together by some very good direction by Wolfgang Peterson. I think I've got his name right this time, but also great cast. You've got Harrison Ford, you've got sweaty Glenn Close, you've got William H. Macy, you've got Gary Oldman, and
Dean Stockwell
of
Quantum Leap fame.
Dean Stockwell, and yeah, I think it holds up. It's tightly edited. It's tight. The script is pretty solid, and it's a good, solid actioner. And as we say, and in the notes on the review on the blog, I don't think we're ever going to see a film like this in the current political climate, especially with the upcoming president-elect Donald Trump, September 11th. You're not going to get this type of film anymore.
Or if you are going to get a type of film like this, it won't be the president taking down. It'll be something like Olympus Has Fallen. You'll have the Die Hard in the White House, which I think they did twice in the same year. Am I right?
Yeah, you had Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down. That'll be interesting to see what is the next type of film. You have these, on a side note, you have these head-to-head films. So you had those two, you had Volcano, Dante's Peak, you had Armageddon, and that other one with
Deep Impact.
So yeah, I think in terms of the whole airplanes, presidents kicking ass, unless Donald Trump starring in it himself, I don't think we're going to get something like that these days. But yeah, I think it's a classic action film. It's we love films like Die Hard. We love the Die Hard in a ... And I think this is one of the last great Die Hard in a certain situation that we have.
Absolutely. Harrison Ford, he's been back in the limelight recently. Turned up in The Force Awakens, reprising his role as Han Solo. Did a very good job, and just when you were happy to see him again,
he gets stabbed through the chest and thrown into the abyss.
So there is no chance of him coming back. And obviously, as George told me, I'm just going to talk over him here, but he's been wanting to get out of those films since Empire Strikes Back. Is that not correct?
Yeah. He begged George Lucas to kill him off for Empire Strikes Back, and I think, and again for Return of the Jedi. So George Lucas made the compromise that he would be in peril at the end of Empire Strikes Back, which makes it a great cliffhanger. And again, I think Harrison Ford pushed for him to be killed off in Return of the Jedi.
Please kill me.
Please kill me. He finally got his wish with The Force Awakens, and as you and I, Charlie, were saying, with the release of the new Blade Runner trailer, it looks like he may be angling for that yet again. It may be a contract requirement that any sequel or remake he's doing, he must be killed off.
There is no chance of him coming back. But he's a replicant. They can just remake him. No. That also has to be destroyed.
Yeah. I also noted from, on a side note, on the Blade Runner trailer, it looks like Harrison Ford has just turned up in his casual clothes. He's wearing a t-shirt and jeans, which seems to be the standard
He's woken up.
Yeah, it's basically come to work in your own clothes day. He couldn't be bothered to wear the silly sort of futuristic tinfoil t-shirt or the like. So yeah, should we move on to Face Off?
As you've heard in that podcast, we have so much love for this film. This was a very formative film. I remember going to the cinema. I went to the cinema and saw both of these films. When I went and saw Air Force One, it was like Harrison Ford kicking ass as the president. That looks like a good film. Face Off, there was a lot more anticipation. There was, in my mind, it was the first teaser trailer. It's the teaser trailer. I remember this. Did we talk about this in the podcast?
We did touch on it, but I think you're right. I think Face Off was more of an event film, and I'm for our dear listeners, I'm using air quotes around the word event.
Quotation fingers.
That you don't really get much these days. And I say that getting a big budget, violent action film with two A-list Hollywood leading men, character actors, if you love them or hate them, both Travolta and Cage have done some great films, and this was a nice chance for them to have a bit of fun.
Camp it up to 11.
Yeah, play each other, camp it up. And I think with this film, when it first came out, it was like a revolution of sorts. Everyone was like, oh, this is the best action film since Die Hard. This is one of the best action films ever. With time, it hasn't. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's aged badly, but I think it's lost a little bit of its sheen.
It's no longer the greatest action film of all time. It had a short run for at least that summer. George and I felt that way, and then another film came out.
Yeah, it's still. I think it's still a solid action film, and it's John Woo's best American effort. He finally hit his stride after I think we had the ridiculous Jean-Claude Van Damme mullet-wearing, snake-punching Hard Target.
It's a lot of fun, though.
The fairly disappointing Broken Arrow, though I do have some fond memories of how ridiculous that film is. So yeah, I think Face Off is John Woo's best American film. John Woo...
You're including Mission Impossible 2 in that?
Well, you and I have a very soft spot for Mission Impossible 2, and I think that will probably shock and disgust some people, some listeners out there. But yeah, it has some great action. It has a ridiculous amount of face swapping, of rubber masks, a lot of unnecessary dove slow-mo action. But yeah, Mission Impossible 2 is one of my, and I think it is officially a guilty pleasure. I think
but it is linked to this film. It seemed to be, it was, for me, John Woo revisiting this idea of what if the good guy and bad guy could swap places?
And they are the sort of the yin and the yang.
Yeah, and they're just, the bad guys just as good as the good guys. So I think that was a talent. It worked in Face Off. Maybe it didn't work so well in Mission Impossible 2. But
though Dougray Scott is going for Cage and Travolta levels of hamminess with his bad guy.
It's almost like both of them combined in the same role.
Maybe it's Woo's direction. He's like, no, it needs to be hammier.
Yeah.
More over the top. But yeah, John Woo sort of disappeared of late. I mean, he's returned. He's doing more stuff in Hong Kong, more Chinese films. I saw a film of his a few years ago. He did a really good historical sort of action battle epic called Redcliffe, and there's various cuts of it there. It was released in 2 parts. It was released as a long cut. I think I saw the longer version, and it is really impressive. It's still some trademark action from John Woo.
Are there doves?
Believe it or not, I think there is some doves, but I would, obviously it's all in Mandarin. I think it's Mandarin, but it's all in foreign, but it's a worthwhile, if you're a fan of John Woo, it's worth checking out.
Great. And what's your feeling of both of these films since we've taken a retro ramble on them? How do you look at them any differently? Because we did a little bit of research.
I was surprised at how much I enjoyed Air Force One.
Yeah, I know, because we had to look at it analytically, and me too. I just thought, I forgot how much of a Die Hard film this is. That sounds stupid saying it now, but I forgot that it was Die Hard on a plane.
But it is as I say, it's, and I will argue this, it is a solid film. It's a solid, entertaining, it's change anyone's opinions of that sort of action genre. It doesn't really do anything overly unique or different.
It's better than Executive Decision and any other film featuring Steven Seagal.
It's true. Although, Under Siege does have some...
That's kind of Die Hard on a boat, isn't it?
Well, it is.
And he also cooks. Anyway, we may cover that at some stage.
We may cover that. But yeah, I was surprised at how good Air Force One is. Face Off, for me, it's ludicrous, it's hammy, it's over the top, but it's a cracking action film.
It's good fun.
That can't be denied.
That was Air Force One and Face Off. And next time, we will be back with
Starship Troopers.
Exactly. I look forward to watching that and reviewing that with you.
As do I, bruv. As do I.
Excellent. And then we're both going to continue our work in the hope that we will be taken seriously as a podcast. So thanks for listening. And until next time, enjoy yourself. Just not too much.
Be safe.
Be safe. Cover yourself. Well, I think that went all right. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the middle bit could do with stretching out, pulling back, re-engaging, unlocking. If you re-strap it, it might pull together.
Should we do it with clothes on next time? The dog looks frightened. Seriously frightened dog over there.
If I'm honest with you, I'd really like to keep my slippers on.
Okay, I have one more thing to say.